All right, guys. I hope you have been enjoying the course and have been learning a lot of information inside this course. I hope you guys are absorbing this information, taking it in, taking notes, making sure you are downloading everything that I'm putting in here for you because this will help you down the road. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the rush inspections. I actually wanted to do the vacant inspection next, but that one looks like it's going to be pretty long. So I want to make sure that I am taking my time and making sure I am inputting all the information in there. So we're going to jump into a little bit shorter lesson, which are the rush inspections. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the presentation so you'll learn what some of these inspections are because it's important that you know the difference between these inspections because they sound alike, they look alike, but they are totally different. All right. And also, guys, I decided to film in a different place. You know, I got tired of being cooped up in the office room, so I decided to sit out here on the patio and enjoy some time with you guys. All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into this lesson. All right, again, guys, this is the rush inspection lesson. So let's jump into it. And so, what are rush inspections? A rush inspection is basically what it sounds like. It means that inspection needs to be done as soon as possible. All right. Some of your clients, uh, they may send you out orders that must be performed on a rush basis. So it's like short notice because a lot of these companies they'll define these kind of rush orders as 24 or 48 hours. So if they're like 24 and 48 hours, guess what? That's when they're due. All right. But you might see some other inspections that rush inspections that may have like a 24-hour time frame, a 72-hour time frame, or a 5-day time frame for a rush order. So it's important that you pay attention to the type of inspection that you have because again, they will serve different purposes. So we're going to talk about some of these rush inspection types. Okay, we've got several of them here. Okay, you have the 24 or 48 hour rush interview inspection. Now keep in mind when I say 24 or 48 hours, sometimes it can be 24 hours, sometimes it can be 48 hours. But the reason why I lump them together is because regardless of the time frame, it's still the same type of inspection so that you have a clarity on that. So we have the 24 48 hour rush mortgage inspection, and then we have the 24 48 hour bankruptcy inspection, and then we have the 72-hour rush interview inspection, the 72-hour rush regular inspection, the 5-day rush inspection, and the 5-day rush interview inspection. All right. So these are some of your rush inspections. So that's what we're going to go over, and plus a few other miscellaneous inspections that you should know about, and usually they're on a rush basis. All right. So, but these are your most common that you may receive when you are performing field inspections for the mortgage industry. All right. So let's talk about some of these inspections now. And as you'll see, as we're going through this course is going to be probably kind of short. But as we're going through this course, you'll notice that most of them requires just about the same thing. However, they are used for different purposes. All right. So the 24 48-hour rush interview inspection. Guys, these inspections will usually require you to determine the occupancy status of the property and try to attempt to make contact. So basically, you you have a work order, you pull up to the property, and you want to visually look and photograph, make sure you have your photographic evidence. You want to take all your normal photos that's required for your work order, and then you want to take your occupancy photos and determine if that property is occupied. You also want to try to make contact with whoever's living there. All right. So if contact is made with the mortgager, because I mean, when you're doing these kind of inspections, you're gonna have to kind of find creative ways, or ask plain and simple, are you, are you are you a tenant, or are you the mortgager? Just let them, when you walk up to the door, just let them know you're trying to reach the homeowner. All right. And some people will be like, hey, I'm a tenant, you know. So now that person is a tenant. Sometimes they don't tell you anything. So if you make contact with someone, you may want to ask, are you the tenant? Are you the homeowner here? Okay, before you hand over the door card. All right. So if you make contact with the mortgager, the homeowner, then what you want to do for this rush interview inspection, they want you to try to obtain home and work phone numbers. So simply ask them, let them know that the mortgage company has been trying to contact them, and they need a good, contact information for you. Now, if the homeowner do not want to provide you that information, that's okay. Don't argue with the homeowner. You're not going to sit there. What are you going to do? Make the homeowner give it to you? No. Just if the homeowner refuses to give you the information, just ensure that you document it in your report. That's it. Document it in your report. By documenting it, you are covering your backside. All right? But if you don't document it, then basically they have no reason to believe you. So you want to make sure everything that you do is documented, all right, so that you won't have any problems down the line, like chargebacks or rechecks, when they make you go out to recheck the property because it was a different occupancy status reported on the last report. So you want to make sure that all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. All right. So if you make contact with the mortgager, go ahead and try to get the home phone number and the work phone number, and leave the door card with the mortgager so that they can contact the mortgage company. As you can see to the right, there's the door card, the generic door card. Again, if you've watched the rest of the training, door cards come in many different ways. So if you haven't, go back and watch the other trainings, okay? So I'm not going to get into how to fill out this because I've already covered that in another lesson. So basically you want to fill this door card out and make sure you hand it to the mortgager to have them contact the mortgage company. This is your 24-hour interview rush inspection. Now, usually for the 24-hour rush inspections, these inspections are usually completed within 1 business day from the time that it is requested. All right. So that means if you receive a 24-hour rush interview inspection today, that means that that order is due in by tomorrow, by the end of the day tomorrow. 48-hour inspections are basically the same thing, except now you have 2 days to complete it. All right, so it must be completed by the 2nd day. All right, so again, these results are usually due back by the end of the next day. If it's a 24-hour, if it's 48 hours, 2 business days. Okay, that is the only difference between 24 and 48, and I'm explaining it here because as we're going through, as you've seen, there's going to be some more 24 and 48-hour inspections. So this, the 24-hour due 1 day, 1 business day from receipt. 48 hours due 2 business days from receipt. It's just that plain and simple. Okay. But always, no matter what you're learning here, always read your inspection instructions and follow the directions provided by your customer. All right. Because again, this training is basic. It is the baseline for you. Some of these inspections may be a little bit different. They may ask a little more, but what I'm giving you is the framework of how they work. Okay, and just make sure that you complete all your inspections within the inspection completion window. That's pretty much all what you need to know about this 24-hour interview inspection. Okay, now we have the 24-48-hour rush mortgage inspection. You see the difference, interview and mortgage, you know. One requires that you determine occupancy and try to make contact. This one, um, the most common purpose for this inspection is just to determine the occupancy status of the property. The bank wants to know if that property is occupied or vacant. So it's your job to determine what that status is, all right? And it's just like your regular occupancy inspection when we first went over your occupancy doing the basic residential inspection. It is just pretty much the same thing, except for these, you're on a restricted time frame. So these must be done much faster and much quicker than a regular occupancy check. So, since the bank wants to know if this property is occupied or vacant, what you have to do is, you have to find out who occupies that property by asking questions. Is it occupied by the owner, or is it occupied by a tenant? Okay? And the other thing that you want to do is you want to, regardless if it's occupied or not, you want to note the property condition and any damages that you can visually see. Now, for occupied properties, if you see damages, you don't walk around the back of the house to see if you can see damages, but if you're walking up to a property and you see the gutter falling down in the front, that is considered a damage. So that is something that you want to photograph and also document in your report. All right. And usually these 24-hour rush inspections, they are usually completed again within 1 business day of receipt, and the results are due back by the end of the next business day. All right. Same again with the 48-hour. We talked about that. So I'm not going to go into the 48-hour thing again. We already discussed that. Now, let's talk about the 24-hour rush bankruptcy inspection. Okay. Essentially, these inspections are to be completed like any other bankruptcy no contact inspection. If you go back and to the lesson of the bankruptcy no contact inspection, you want to follow that guideline. All right. So, and so the difference between the other inspections that we've talked about so far, again, you are not allowed to make contact with anyone at the property. All right. Or step foot onto the property. Don't go onto the property. What you want to do is verify the occupancy status of that property by using a visual inspection and your photos. That's it. All right. And and they're usually due back again within 1 business day or 2 business days, depending on what kind of order that you have. 24-hour, 48-hour. All right. So here are some things. Never step foot on a property that is a bankruptcy no contact order. I cannot express to you more how important that is, because you could cause some legal ramifications if you do that. All right. So never initiate a conversation either, and never talk to the neighbors. Just complete your inspection, as best as you can from the street, from your car, whatever. Just complete it the best you can to determine the occupancy status of that particular property, and make sure that you submit your results within the specified time frame. All right, now we have the 72-hour rush interview inspection. Basically, guys, I mean, these inspections are pretty much the same. It's an interview. If you the last lesson that we went over talked about the letter delivery. Basically, that's what that is. I mean, this is an interview inspection. With interview inspections, you usually deliver door cards. Okay, so I want to make sure that you have some clarity with that. So when you hear interview inspection, basically, though, that is a door card inspection usually. All right, so here we go. The 72-hour rush interview inspection. These inspections are done pretty much is done the same way as you would do a door card, a letter delivery inspection. All right. The purpose here is pretty much the same. The purpose of this inspection type is to determine the occupancy status of that property and attempt to make contact with the occupant there. And basically it needs to be done within that 72-hour time frame. Okay, so if you make contact with the mortgager at that property, again, with this one, you again want to obtain a home phone number and work phone number from the mortgager. Again, do not argue with them if they don't want to provide you that information. Just leave them the door card either way, and just tell them to contact their mortgage company. So to summarize this 72-hour inspection, basically, you're going to determine the occupancy status of the property. You're going to note the property condition, and you're going to document any damages, and just make sure that you have all of your photo requirements. Again, this one is due back 3 business days from receipt. All right, and once you complete that order, you make sure your inspections are submitted on the same day, if not right after you complete that inspection. All right, we are here at the rush inspection. All right, the 5-day rush inspection. We've been talking about rush inspections. It's getting a little tongue twister tied over here, but anyway, this 5-day rush inspection, guys, the purpose of this inspection is to determine the current occupancy status of the property. Again, do you see the trend here? All these inspections, doesn't matter what time frame they are, you have to determine the occupancy status of the property. Now, the only difference is the time frames. The regular inspections that you receive, you usually have 5 to 7 days to complete them. Usually it's a 7-day period, somewhere around in there. But these 5-day rush inspections, you will get them from time to time. So with these, you want to do the same thing. Again, verify the occupancy and note the property condition and any damages. With this one, again, the inspection results are due back within 5 days. All right, so you must make sure that you complete these on time. So with these rush inspections, all right, guys, I'm gonna just let you know, because these rush inspections are clearly stated. Okay, they will be clearly stated in your work order. It'll say 24-hour rush interview or 24-hour interview. That means you have 24 hours to interview the occupant at that property. 48-hour interview, 48, whatever the case may be, it will be clearly stated on your work order. And if for any reason, if you receive a rush inspection, because again, I was doing this, these inspections, I was working for different companies, and sometimes, they would send me stuff, these rush inspections, like 24-hour inspections, and it was like, man, I couldn't go out the next day because I had already planned something else. So, but if you cannot complete an inspection, a rush inspection, by the specified time frame, please go ahead and contact your vendor. Basically, your vendor is the person or the account manager that has assigned you these work orders. All right. So you want to make sure that you contact them if you cannot complete a rush inspection. All right, so here are some tips, guys, all right, for these rush type inspections. And for just about any of them, but for rush type inspections, you conduct all your interviews outside the front door, all right? And you never enter the premises of a property, all right, especially occupied property. All right, never go onto the property. Never go inside the property. And for, no contact bankruptcy inspections, don't discuss your business or any part of the reason for your interview with anyone other than the borrower. Actually, this is for the interview part, but never do that, okay? Never talk to anybody about your business except with the borrower. So you want to make sure that you are actually talking to the homeowner. Now, if they tell you if they tell you that they are the homeowner, then you're not gonna ask them to pull out ID, to verify it. I mean, of course, you'll have the homeowner's name. So what I normally do is I go up to the door and ask them by name if I can. Sometimes there'll be some weird names, but if I can pronounce the name, I will ask for the homeowner by name. If I can, I usually like, hey, not hey, but is the homeowner available? That's pretty much all you have to do. So another tip is you don't want to discuss your business with tenants, children, or any neighbors. All right. So the last thing is become familiar with the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. All right. I've already given you that document. I hope you downloaded it. I hope you read it over, because it is important that you abide by these rules. Okay. All right. Always read your inspection instructions and follow the directions provided by your customer. All right. That is just plain and simple. So whatever your work order says, follow those instructions. If it tells you it needs additional photos, take your additional photos. If it tells you if you need to do X, Y, and Z, make sure you do X, Y, and Z. And the last thing is to make sure that you complete all of your inspections within the inspection completion window. All right. So here are some other inspections that you may see. And a lot of times these are rush inspections with specified due dates. So let's talk about some of these. We're going to talk about sale date inspections, 25, 35-day inspections, second and third attempt contact inspections. Okay. Because all of these have different reasons. So we're going to talk about what these are, when their due dates are, and how you kind of complete them. All right. And these are pretty much simple as well. All right, first thing we're going to talk about are the sale date inspections. All right. The sale date inspections, they differ from the other inspections because they must be performed on a specific date. So if they tell you that this inspection must be done on April 11th, then you must do it on April 11th. Okay, you can't do it before, can't do it after. It must be done on that specific date. All right. And this inspection, it requires an attempt to make contact with the occupant at the residence on that specific date, and also try to obtain the names of the occupants that are living there. So if it's the homeowner living there, you want to try to get the name and a phone number, or just the name of that occupant. If it's a tenant, try to get the tenant's name. All right. But they want to know, they want to try to obtain the name of whoever's living there. So if no contact is made during the first attempt, a second attempt may be required. Okay. Because these inspections are important. And the reason why they're important is because clients, the people who are ordering these inspections, not your vendors, but the banks who are ordering these inspections, they are on a strict time frame to comply within a specified period in order to stay within the investor's compliance guidelines. Okay, so you don't have to worry about investor compliant guidelines, but they have to stay within guidelines that they have. So we, as inspectors, being the eyes and the ears for the banks, we have to make sure that these inspections are done on that particular date. So if for any reason you are unable to complete a sale date inspection, you make sure you contact your vendor. Guys, in this business, communication is important. The more you communicate, the better your relationship with your vendor is. The better your relationship, the more jobs you get. All right. I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it real. But you make sure that you are, that you want to do your orders, your work orders properly. All right. What was that one? Sell date. Okay, let's talk about the 25 and 35-day inspections. Okay, these inspections should be completed on or as close to the due date as possible, not earlier. Okay, it's important that this due date is met and that the inspections is completed on the due date listed on your work order, because a lot of times if you fail to complete these kind of inspections within the specified time frame, sometimes they'll reassign work or charge you back. So you may have gotten paid whatever you get paid. You may have get paid for something and then they charge you back. So basically, you did that inspection for free because you didn't do it properly. Who wants to work for free? I don't. So you want to make sure that you do your job properly so you won't worry about any kind of chargebacks or not being paid for work that you've completed, gas and time that you've put in to actually do this inspection. All right. All right, now we're going to talk about second and third attempt contact inspections. Guys, these contact inspections are used to develop information related to the reason for delinquency. Why is the mortgager delinquent on their account? Okay, we don't need to know that, but the bank wants to know. Okay, so guys, these are face-to-face interviews with the borrower at their home. Same thing as an interview inspection, same thing as a letter delivery. All right, we try to have a face-to-face interview with the homeowner. So if direct contact with the mortgager is not made, a second attempt will be required on a different date and time. All right, and you want to make sure that it's a reasonable time. Maybe your first attempt was early in the morning. Well, maybe you didn't make contact. So your second attempt you should try to maybe do it in the afternoon when people get off work, usually after 3 o'clock. All right, so you want to try a different time and a different date to make contact with the homeowner. Okay, so if direct contact with the mortgager is not possible on that third attempt, because sometimes you have to go 3 times, all right, at that point you can contact tenants and neighbors to determine the occupancy status of that property. Say you've gone there twice already. You went in the morning. You went in the morning on a Tuesday and nobody was home, and you went in the afternoon on a Friday and nobody was still home. So you made a third attempt on Monday at a different time. Maybe you did it in the middle of the day, around 1 p.m. or something. And you still haven't been able to make contact. All right. What you want to do is you want to make sure that that property is occupied. If you can verify that visually by personals that you see or whatever, that is fine. But if you are not able to visually and have photographic evidence that that property is occupied, then you are required to determine that occupancy status of that property with neighbors. Okay, if the neighbor says, hey, that property's they're out of town. Maybe they're out of town. Who knows? Maybe the neighbor says, oh, they're out of town. So now it's occupied. Okay. Maybe they say, oh no, that property is vacant. They moved out last week. Okay, now the neighbor has verified for you that the property is vacant. So now what you want to do is proceed with your vacancy inspection. All right, so basically now what you want to do, if you haven't made contact with the tenants or or anybody at the property, and the neighbor maybe verified that the property is vacant, you can proceed with your vacancy inspection. All right, now for these second and third temp and contact inspections, usually the turnaround time to for these inspections are around 3 to 5 days. That's the reason why I say they're somewhat in the rush category. Um, Usually, whoever's the vendor who are assigning jobs to you, um, they'll actually specify specific times. Sometimes they'll specify specific times and days when inspections are to be completed or when they are to be performed. And some of these firms, they'll sometimes request that you try to attempt contact, maybe after 5 p.m. your local time, or it could be they want you to try to make contact on a Saturday. All right. When I was doing these, I would work Saturdays sometimes. Matter of fact, I would probably work sometimes 6 days a week, depending on how busy I was. I try not to work on a Sunday. If I did work on a Sunday, I'd probably work half the day, where everybody's in church, and I'm starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll probably may work till noon. But it depends on the workload. All right, now let me shut this off. Now for these second and third attempt contact inspections, guys, I'm gonna give you a little clue here, okay? I really suggest that you accept a fee arrangement with these, okay? Where you are paid for each and every attempt that you make to contact the mortgager. Some of these firms don't want to pay you for each attempt that you make. So before you actually accept and go out and complete these type of inspections, make sure you talk to your account manager and ask them, will you be paid for each and every attempt that you make? And another tip here is, if they want you to go on at a specific day or on a specific day or at a specific time, request higher fees. Guys, if they want this done, they're going to pay you. Okay, it may throw on an extra couple of dollars to your inspection, but you want to negotiate, to get higher fees if they are wanting you to set aside your time, because again, you are an independent contractor, so they can't tell you that you have to do this. Okay, so they can say, yes, we can pay you more, or no, we can't pay you more. If you don't want to do it, then tell them that you can't, that you have, that you have prior arrangements and that you can't get it done. Pretty simple. So you always want to remember that too, because it, depending on the time of year it gets dark early in the winter months, and you want to think about traffic in the evening time after 5 o'clock, or between 3 and usually 7 o'clock or so. Depending on where you live, there is heavy traffic, and depending on where you have to go. So you want to keep all of these things in mind, because guys, you can negotiate your fees. You don't have to do them. You can negotiate. My thing was, when I was getting batches of work, I would get a batch of 800 jobs that I needed to do. Okay, and sometimes they'll start adding other stuff in there, like these second and third attempt inspections. So I'm not going to set aside my time if they're not going to pay me more to do these on a specific date at a specific time. you know Unless I am doing a favor or something like that. This is totally up to you. The way that I treat a lot of this stuff, I make good with vendors, and I'm making sure I am building a great relationship with the vendor. And so now, because of that great relationship, I can kind of turn down some stuff here and there. But at the same time, a lot of times I go out of my way to do certain things. Maybe they needed an inspection done, but they had nobody to do it. I'm not doing anything. They call me up, hey, Jay, we really need you to get this inspection done. Is it possible you can do it? Yeah. And sometimes they'll be like, I'll throw an extra fee on there for you. All right. You know, because they can. A lot of times they will. You know, if you're cooperative with them, they'll be cooperative and with you, and sometimes they'll pay you more, and they'll reward you for certain actions. All right. Because guys, you should be paid for every attempt that you make when you go out to a property. And basically, guys, that basically wraps up this lesson. Again, I thought this lesson was going to be a little bit shorter, but however, it's about 30 minutes or so. But I hope you learned something with this. Again, guys, just to wrap everything up, these inspections are pretty much done the same way as the other inspections that we've already covered. However, the only difference is the time frames on them. That is basically the only difference, all right? And with some of them, sometimes you have to try to obtain the occupant's name and phone number. So that is the main difference between these inspections. So I hope you enjoyed it, and next week we're going to jump into the vacant inspections, all right? So I look forward to seeing you then. Take care.